So I got sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. They sent me to a very violent prison of 4,000 gang members in Fort Dix, New Jersey. I lost everything. I lost every single thing and just was destroyed. And by the incredible way the laws of attraction of the universe, it taught me federal criminal law. And I actually found the keys to my own escape.
This is Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgenson.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgenson. And today we have Jeff Martinovich, who has a story unlike any other that we've had on the show. You are going to lose when it comes to comparing. We were just talking about this. Every entrepreneur and CEO faces adversity and some challenges. And Jeff has faced some of the biggest ones that I've ever read about, but is standing now as a guide and a beacon to people who are standing as CEOs and entrepreneurs, guiding them in a way to not make the same mistakes he did and how to handle challenges when they come, because it's inevitable. We're all going to face those challenges. So welcome out to the show, Jeff. Really excited to have you here.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate the ability to be here.
Yeah. Glad that you're able to get on and handle some technology. We made it through. Now, here's my question. You have a wild story. When when you're meeting someone for the first time, like I'm sure it will eventually come up, right? How does it come up? What your background is, and tell us what happened.
That's a great question. Actually, when I came home from prison 5 years ago, not most people don't have that story.
Yeah.
But I redid my resume, and all my friends and prior business associates said, "Holy crap, man, you've got that crazy story right on the front page of your resume." And that's the way I've taken it. And so, as we could get to, I've been so fortunate for miracle after miracle after this experience that I have so much new business in our team. So every person I talk to for the first time, in the world today, that's normally a Zoom. And I say, "Hey, Bob, you got 1 minute before we get started here?" And I tell them my 1 minute crazy story. And, normally in our world, when you have those terrible things happen to you, you kind of, human nature is to run away, to hide.
Yeah.
And so, when you come from the worlds of sports, military, and entrepreneurialism, we attack things.
Sure.
And so my theory has been, let me tell you this crazy story. And I can see their eyeballs are like this. But what has happened is really incredible is, first of all, they go, "Oh my God, I got a CEO who went through that." And they went, "Oh my God, it was 5 years of torture. They destroyed him." Everybody kind of knows somebody in the world today who has battled the federal government. And so first of all, it's really, I've been just overwhelmed by the response. And secondly, I think it has attracted us a tremendous amount of new business because people kind of respect that you didn't curl up and die. And then they also know that I think that they can trust you, that you're transparent about everything in your life and you're an open book.
So transparency is such an important thing, I think, for a leader, because nothing will break down trust faster than if people think you are holding things back, especially critical information. But before we go on, I think it's really important. Just give us the small breakdown of what happened and where you ended up.
Sure. The quick story is I'm an Air Force Academy graduate, first Gulf War veteran, got out, got into finance, was a rookie stockbroker, didn't have any money, didn't know anybody with any money, but through a lot of great fortune, over about 2 decades, a lot of really great people helped me build my own firm. And we grew to over $1 billion firm, 100 associates, 46 states, investment banking, asset management, insurance, mortgages, you name it. We did it. 2008 shows up, terrible crisis, but we lived through that. But what a lot of people don't know is how the government went around and shut down a lot of what I call second tier firms. We were too big to not be on the radar, but not big enough to write $100 million check to make the regulators go away. So what they do is they find something to shut you down, something to punish you, because of course on Wall Street, everybody was just exchanging billions of dollars back and forth, the government and the big boys. So they accused us of mispricing one stock in one of our hedge funds. It was a solar company back when there was trouble with those. I knew that nobody in our firm did anything wrong. And I really kind of had, not to be too hokey or cliche about it, but I really had an Air Force Academy honor code moment. And I wasn't going to lie or have my people lie to save our buns, really.
Right.
So I refused 3 federal government plea offers and demanded to go to trial against the United States government, knowing that 98.5% of those end in conviction. I spent 5 weeks trying to explain hedge fund accounting to a jury of very honorable shipyard workers. And they spent 5 weeks putting up pictures of all my automobiles and my beach houses. And I was toast. I got sentenced. Yeah,
especially in that time of and season right. of the market, right? You guys were the bad guys.
Days in half, right?
Yes.
So I got sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. They sent me to a very violent prison of 4,000 gang members in Fort Dix, New Jersey. 4,000 gang members and 1 hedge fund manager. And so I lost everything. I lost every single thing and just was destroyed. Took a job in the prison law library and just started helping as many people as possible. And I ended up sending in motions in over 300 cases for other inmates. And by the incredible way the laws of attraction of the universe, it taught me federal criminal law. And I actually found the keys to my own escape. And by a lot of miracles, I ended up personally representing myself, reversed the court cases 5 times, removed 2 federal judges, and made it home 7 years early. Bad part was it took me 7 years.
Yeah, that's wild.
To family and business, miracle after miracle.
Man, as someone who went through the financial turmoil of 2008, and it beat me up until these last couple of years. It was my worst, stretch of business and life. And again, I wouldn't trade my path for yours, right? You went through and you stand here smiling and as a beacon to other people. And it's just amazing that you found an opportunity to serve and help other people during that time.
Thank you.
Tell us about what your book, When Not If, A CEO's Guide to Overcoming Adversity, how does that help other people navigate through these types of, their version of these types of challenges?
Right. Certainly the book and the speaking I do serves as a little bit of a shock to everybody, because they just don't realize if you're running the most ethical, prosperous, good business, this can happen to everybody on a random Tuesday when the black swan shows up in our reception area. So the first part is I want to shock people. So I tell them a couple of the crazy stories. And, but I also want them to know that I want them to be better prepared than I was. I was very naive, duty, honor, country. We're doing great. We grew at over 36% a year for 18 years straight. And so I thought there's no way anything bad could happen to us. So many things I didn't button down, that I left loose. Okay. I left myself, my employees, our shareholders vulnerable. And that's the worst part. As the leader, it's our responsibility to first take care of everybody. Yeah. So that's what I try to do. There's 40 lessons in the book. I get through about 10 of them in a keynote speech. And I just want to kind of help everybody. And I get a ton of people follow up with me afterwards. And first of all, they tell me their terrible stories.
Sure.
And so I hope we can all connect. But also they go, oh my God, on Monday, here's the 17 things I'm going to do to button up, our company. So hopefully we don't go through that.
So I think that's by accepting that adversity is inevitable, right? We will face it. You can be better prepared. Where I do think a lot of people in their first cycle of business, we operate under a lot of naivety, right? Like we just think things are going to work out. I'm okay because I'm doing things honestly and doing good work.
Right.
It's going to be okay. Well, it's like, no, you have to play defense a little bit too. And you need to play
Correct.
proactive and be smarter. I want to touch on one more part of the story that I didn't get clarity on, and then I want to just kind of go back through some of these lessons that you're teaching people.
Sure.
So you said you got 2 federal judges removed. Did you end up getting your conviction reversed or just out early?
Just out early. What happened?
That's still awesome, by the way. It's still good. Yeah.
It is a miracle.
Yeah.
When because for 5 or 6 years I battled, I sent in over 500 motions and petitions in my own case using a number 2 pencil and a manual typewriter. And it was denial, so many times.
Yeah.
When we finally the tide started to turn and I overturned a few things, it gave me such great hope. In the way that system works is even if you're right, you're never going to, and very, very rare, are you ever going to really win?
Sure.
So, because if you win, they probably got to write you $100 million check.
Uh-huh.
So you get moved to a minimum security. You then get moved home, all these type of things. So of course, I'm incredibly appreciative and thankful.
Yeah.
But you never technically legally win.
Yeah. And I think sometimes there's some strategy there, right? It's like, look, I can keep fighting to win, or I can try to get my life back and focus on that part. Yeah. 5 years is not that long, right? So welcome home, first of all. And what has been the thing as it's been 5 years and you're building, you're redoing this. What has been the thing that you've been most excited about building in that 5 years?
Right. Well, I want to say, first of all, that, of course, everything in your world blows up at that time. I was on the front page of the newspapers 35 times and all these different articles. So everything's destroyed. Well, I was there for about 1.5 years in this very violent prison, just destroyed. And I received a love letter from Ashley, who worked in our companies many, many years ago. And she said, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't tell you that I always loved you. You never knew it. And anyway, she then came to see me once a month in the horrific prisoner visiting rooms. She drove 7 hours each way to see me. And she said, I'm going to stay with you till we win this. And everybody asked me, like, how is that even humanly possible? And I always say, certain things in the universe you just can't explain. But by coming home, we're rebuilding our family. My son, who is 31, works with us every day. And by another miracle, we have a new little baby girl, Carly, who is 3 years old. I'm 59 years old. So that's how you force yourself to be strong for the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's true.
But first of all, family-wise, it's just been unbelievable. So God and the universe have granted me things I can't explain. Business-wise, the second day I was home, one of my Air Force Academy roommates flies out from San Diego and says, listen, man, we're so glad you're out. I've got all these companies that are all screwed up. I need you to merge these, do this, all these things. And all of my great friends who were in the trenches together have stayed 100% by me, which unfortunately is very rare, very rare. So we have this investment advisory group. I call it an incubator. And we take we have 19 companies now in our portfolio. We take an equity stake, we raise capital, we bring in a bench team of executives. We have a law firm here in Norfolk, Virginia. We have venture capital funds, and all of those things. Again, I can't explain it, how rapidly it has all rebuilt. And it's just getting up at 5 a.m. every day, thanking the universe that I am home and I have this opportunity. And so that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, that story made me emotional. I think when things blow up and you've got to rebuild, you can look back and see the people that stood beside you. Right. You can also look back and see the people that were supposed to stand beside you, and
that's right.
And either made life harder or left, right? And so, and sometimes you can't fault them for it either. Like, you can understand it, but you can be so grateful for those that do. And I mean, to hear what, not only about Ashley, that's a beautiful story, but also that your friends, right when you came out, showed up with a, income earning potential. Because when you starting back to, with the, you probably missed your boats, man. You probably missed your houses. And so just have to start from scratch again isn't the coolest thing. And so, so really neat that those opportunities were there and those humans showed up for you. Really
it really
cool.
is. It's totally textbook about, like you said, a lot of the people you think would be there are not. A lot of the people who you think not are. I've always related that to when you're filing legal motions. All the ones that you think are no-brainers, this is black and white, we have to win this, are always not. And so I coach other people, like, you got to hit every ball that you can try to hit. Take a swing at everything, because it ends up being the things you don't think are going to work out are the things that might save your life.
And I'll tell you, that has been, in my experience, the long shots have almost always been the shoe-ins, right? It's
hard to understand,
especially when it comes to the federal government. All of my weird angled, like, let me try this one. It's like, oh, that worked. How the and it's like, maybe they're not used to defending that one, so that's why it worked. They know how to attack the obvious one, but it's crazy. The left hooks have always won for me. What you in your book and when you speak, you've got I know you said 40 lessons that you teach. What lesson is just really vibrating with you today?
Gosh, there's so many that when I'm talking to everybody about them, I get all emotional about them. A simple one is overconfidence. And really, I missed a lot of the black swan coming down the river because, we'd always won. We were always number one. And it makes you soft, and it makes you think you can handle things. And really, the overconfidence, first of all, stopped me from building the defenses that I should have. And I just feel so stupid. Being CEO of a large investment advisory firm, I mean, that's so dumb that I didn't do it for myself.
Right.
Because I just thought it never could happen. But also, when the government showed up in the reception area, and as you read books like 3 Felonies a Day, if they walk into your office, they're going to find a whole long list of things they can indict you on for 50 years. So you just can't win it. But I didn't know that. And so I was like, no way, I'm not going to take an agreement or a settlement. By the time I get in front of a jury and explain hedge fund accounting, there's no way anybody would think it out. So I think the big key is to know, especially if you get into this kind of terrible adversity, we don't know what we don't know. And we have to be, like, especially with the federal government, you got to know that game is already over once it started. So being overconfident, and it's really a thing that I talk to all of our other CEOs, is your previous success actually works against you when you have something like this. You need to be thinking trench warfare. The prosecutors always would respond in their documents to the court. Martinovich is practicing scorched earth, take no prisoners strategies. But it wasn't until I realized that and turned my perspective that I began to have a little bit of success. I thought if you just tell the truth, you help everybody else, you try to help the victims, the stakeholders, but that's not what it's about. They are achieving an entirely different objective.
Yeah. Yeah. And you would think that the government was there to actually protect the people, but by that point, it's a very different setup. So how do you balance, because I've heard you mention like law of attraction in the universe through your conversation. So how do you balance having positive confidence, like believing that the universe is abundant, right, with not being overconfident, right? So where do you find that sweet spot?
Right. When I wrote my first book, Just One More, in prison, and there was an incredible Army Lieutenant Colonel, Ray, who was brilliant literature type guy, very unlike me. And as I wrote my first draft of the story, he said, Martinovich, this is extremely boring. Nobody wants to read a book about a straight line of success. Every great story, has a big dip, dip in the storyline.
Yeah, there's no redemption arc here.
Exactly. And I thought back to growing up and being young in business. I always would talk to God in the morning and I would say, God, please let me lead a life of significance. And little did I understand that pretty much everybody on the planet who leads a life of significance went through pure hell at certain points in their life. Yep. So we really have to view it as not to be like such a Tony Robbins or Joel Osteen preacher on this. You really have to view it as like a blessing that I'm sure I'm such a stronger, better person today because I went through it. And so I want to view that with optimism. I want to view it as, hey, thank you for the opportunity to go through that. It was pure hell for 12 years. But I think I have the opportunity to help so many people forward for the next 20 or 30 years that I wouldn't have done if I would have kept getting soft. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of gratitude balancing in there. And I think there is this, your whole book is when, not if, right? There is this power that comes in recognizing that adversity is inevitable if you want to live a life of significance, right? If you want to disappear into the margins, you may have no adversity ever, but you're not going to also have fulfillment or significance. And so, when somebody, there is a way to prepare for it, right? But what if someone's already in it? What's your advice to someone who's in the middle of an adverse moment, like on how to take the next steps and how to start, building?
Right. In my book and talks, I kind of think about 20 of the lessons are preparation type of lessons. And then the other 20 are, oh my God, man, we're right in the middle. And, there's a lot of simple ones, and there's a lot of really involved, torturous ones. But like one is, when you're a CEO or an entrepreneur and government comes after you, what do all the attorneys tell you? Don't talk to the paper. Don't answer any questions. Don't do this. What happens is you're against these behemoths of bureaucracy. And once that train gets out of the station, they just do press releases and allegations and all these things. So you wake up one morning, I was driving my son to school in the morning. He was in high school, and he once said, stop at 7-Eleven, get him a couple snacks. He comes out with the Newport News Daily Press newspaper with my picture on the whole top and bottom of the paper. And he said, he gets in the car and I'm just, I'm so crushed about him. And he says, Dad, if you're going to be in the newspaper every day, you should send them a better picture. So we had a good laugh about that.
Yeah.
But the key is that it's just so overwhelming that you just got to get out of bed every day. And you got to know that if you don't, you're going to be destroyed. And we talk about you can't take the opinions of the other people in your community, city, newspapers. And the question is, do you curl up in a ball and run away? Or do you go to the bistro for happy hour like you always had? And I made the choice to go to the bistro happy hour and hold my chin up and say, we're going to win this. This is wrong. But the rest of the world takes that as you have no remorse.
Yeah.
You have no regret. And that's used against you.
So what should someone do?
Well, that's what we talk about there's no manual. Hopefully my book is a little bit of a manual. I think you just have to listen to yourself, and you just got to know nobody else is going to be there, or your inner circle may, and you'll know the right answers. But the problem is fear.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, I still have such fear that the bad people are going to come out of the woodworks and they have 100% control over you. And so I say to people, what would you do today if you had no fear? And we've all heard that. And so that's what I try to do every day when I still get very scared about the things, I'm trying to build.
Yeah. I think that's such a challenging question, right? Because you can ask yourself, you can hypothesize, you can live in that theory of what would you do if you didn't have any fear? Or what would the best version of you do in this instance? And
right.
A lot of times it's for people who have already gone through adversity. It's that fear of standing in the spotlight a second time, right? Because the last time I did this, I got arrows, right? And so, but you see, some people are able to get back up, and it seems like they're just invincible, but really they've just learned that failure and adversity is part of the thing. They feel it just as much. They just keep moving. Right. And then you see other people who, after going through a downside or a downfall, are unable to stand back up or fully stand, right? It's like they're the phoenix that never got back out of the ashes. Like, okay, you can see they're a bird, but they're not flying.
I have a lot of people that reach out that are going through terrible times.
Yeah.
And I try to give them that confidence. Even in my own life I've been very fortunate through sports, military, entrepreneur, to have a lot of failures already. Trust me, I got more than anybody probably out there. So that does give you some strength. And so you can at least, I'd like to say, during the daylight hours, you can be strong and positive. Now, I will admit that at night, I have many nightmares still. And my wife, hears me screaming and fighting alligators and all these terrible things, because you really can't control your subconscious.
Right.
But you can control your conscious. So, I think that's just a process, and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Trying to get stronger. But there's so many people, because like I said at the beginning, so many people that get into this world, and it's the successful people. You do get a target on your back. So I want to help as many as possible.
Yeah. And so as you're rebuilding, I mean, you have your book, Just One More. You're working with Ash Business Advisory. You do public speaking. How do you define kind of what your mission is right now and what you're wanting to accomplish?
That's a great question, because I chew on that every day. I was very fortunate to build a successful business before, and I love helping our current companies. Many times I'm screwing it up worse, but I want to keep helping them. I call my role as CEO behind the green curtain. But what I really would like to do is do much more of speaking, helping around the country
Cool.
to two things: help people individually in their adversity, but I'd also like in the big picture to speak at this conference or this conference to say, hey man, you have no idea this could happen to everybody on Tuesday. And here's what really happens inside the system.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest struggle for me, for people who've had a little bit of education, was this is such bizarro world going on. Is it incompetence or is it nefarious?
Yep.
And I really, at the end, I don't have the right answer. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And it's incompetent because they can. And it's very nefarious and unfair and illegal. And, my federal record shows all these things that I put in, like, that's clearly just illegal.
Yeah.
And it's because there's no checks and balances on the state that has all the power and no checks.
Yep.
The world is maybe shifting a little bit now.
Sure.
And which, maybe way for the better. A lot of people might think the opposite.
Sure.
But people who come to me and say, hey, I'm going to go to trial and stand up to them because we didn't do anything wrong. And what I do now in my counseling is I say, how old are your children? If my son was going off to college, so I had the ability to maybe do the right thing that hopefully my father was proud of.
Right.
But if you have small kids, you can't do that. You won't see them grow up. And I explained to them, today, the country understands the buffoonness of the systems and how it's not fair. Because it used to be 15 years ago, if you got indicted, 99% of people would say, well, he wouldn't have got indicted unless he was guilty.
Of course. Yeah. There was no skepticism.
No. But today's a different world.
It is.
So I honestly say to these people, if you have small children, take the minimalistic plea, come back and raise your children.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Now, we're coming to the end of the show, and I hope everyone goes and learns more about you, checks out your book. We'll have all the links and everything wherever everyone's listening or watching. The big question I always ask at the end is that life is not just about business and making money, which you probably know and appreciate more than others. What is one item on your personal bucket list that you and maybe you and Ashley are going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Well, I think raising children twice is a big responsibility.
Yeah.
But I see that, hey, we were great. We had these material things and all that. And I never want to say like, hey, we owned a lot of material things and now we've found religion. I thought we were pretty decent people before.
Sure.
But I really do value every day the quality time. Now, that doesn't mean we don't get up at 5 o'clock and try to make $100 million, because I used to tell all my rookie stockbrokers, if we want to save the world, it's a lot easier with $100 million.
Yeah.
So I would like to be very prosperous forward. I would like to be able to have the ability to restore all of my previous stakeholders who were hurt when the golden goose was killed. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to just be so proud of my family and everything we've done. I always say, I do believe there is a life review movie at the end. And I want, God to say, damn, that was impressive.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Gotcha. I love it. All right, Jeff, really appreciate you coming out onto the show. And to all my biz ninjas, wherever you're watching, tuning, or listening, it's your turn to go out and do something.